My parents stole my college fund to pay for my sister's wedding, but they didn't expect me to expose their lies and send them all to jail. That I've always been a planner, meticulously mapping out my future like a complex equation. High school, college, career, family. I had a vision for my life, a carefully structured roadmap to success and happiness. And for the most part, things were going according to plan. My name is Alex, I'm 19, and I'm a rising sophomore at State University, majoring in engineering. It's a tough program, demanding long hours and relentless dedication, but I love it. I love the challenge of solving complex problems, the satisfaction of building something tangible, the promise of a stable, well-paying career. My parents, bless them, have always been incredibly supportive. They're not wealthy, but they've worked hard their whole lives to provide me with every opportunity they could. They sacrificed vacations, new cars, and countless other luxuries to ensure that I had a good education, to give me a head start in life. The cornerstone of their plan was the college fund. It was a savings account they had started when I was born, diligently contributing to it every month, with the explicit goal of paying for my tuition, room, and board. It wasn't a huge amount, but it was enough to cover most of my expenses, allowing me to focus on my studies without the burden of crippling debt. My sister, Sarah, on the other hand, followed a different path. 2 years older than me, she's always been more impulsive, more artistic, less concerned with long-term planning. After high school, she bounced around a series of odd jobs, drifting from one passion project to another, never really finding a career that stuck. Then she met David, and everything changed. David was a whirlwind, a charismatic charmer from a wealthy family. He swept Sarah off her feet, showering her with attention, extravagant gifts, and promises of a life of luxury and adventure. Within a year, they were engaged. The wedding planning, of course, became a major source of stress for my parents. David's family was eager to foot the bill for a lavish affair, but Sarah insisted on a more intimate, personalized celebration, one that reflected her own artistic sensibilities. This meant a smaller venue, local vendors, handmade decorations, and a lot of DIY projects. My parents, ever the peacemakers, tried to mediate, but Sarah was adamant. She wanted her wedding to be perfect, a reflection of her unique style and her love for David. The compromises meant less assistance for the parents, that she would pay with her side of the funds. As the wedding preparations ramped up, I noticed my parents becoming increasingly anxious. They were working longer hours, taking on extra shifts, and seemed to be constantly stressed about money. I tried to offer my help, suggesting ways to cut costs or contribute to the expenses, but they always brushed me off. "Don't worry about it, Alex," my mom would say, her voice tight. "We've got it covered. Just focus on your studies." But I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. They were being secretive, avoiding discussions about finances, and seemed to be carrying a heavy burden on their shoulders. The wedding came fast. Then, there was my college fund. They told me that I was going to be fine and that nothing should be impacted. But something in the air was not settling right. One evening, a few weeks before my sophomore year was set to begin, my parents called me into the living room. They sat me down on the couch, exchanged a nervous glance, and then my dad cleared his throat. "Alex," he began, his voice hesitant, "there's something we need to talk to you about. About your college fund." My heart skipped a beat. I had a bad feeling about this. He explained that they'd run into some unexpected expenses with Sarah's wedding, that things had gone a little over budget, and that they'd had to borrow some money from my college fund to cover the costs. I stared at them in disbelief, my mind struggling to process what I was hearing. You borrowed money from my college fund," I repeated, my voice barely above a whisper. My mom reached out and took my hand, her eyes filled with remorse. "We didn't know what else to do, honey," she said. "We promise we'll pay it back. We'll work extra hard, cut back on our expenses, and replenish the fund as soon as possible." I was speechless, struggling to comprehend the magnitude of their betrayal. The college fund wasn't just a savings account. It was a symbol of their love, their sacrifice, their commitment to my future. And they had just emptied it to pay for a lavish party, a celebration of someone else's happiness. "How much?" I finally managed to ask, my voice trembling. "How much did you take?" My dad looked down at the floor, his face etched with shame. "All of it, Alex," he mumbled. "We took all of it." The words hung in the air, heavy and suffocating. "We took all of it, Alex." My carefully constructed world, my meticulously planned future, had just crumbled before my eyes, reduced to a pile of unpaid bills and broken promises. All that I had built was for nothing. I stared at my parents, my mind struggling to grasp the enormity of their betrayal. The people who had always been my pillars of support, the ones who had sacrificed everything to give me a better life, had just robbed me of my future. I didn't yell, I didn't cry. I just sat there, numb, feeling a hollow ache in my chest, as if someone had reached inside and ripped out a vital organ. The betrayal had to come from my family. How could you do this? I finally managed to ask, my voice flat and emotionless. How could you take away my future to pay for a party? My mom reached out and took my hand, her eyes brimming with tears. We didn't want to, honey, she sobbed. We felt like we had no choice. Sarah was so insistent, and David's family was putting so much pressure on us. We just wanted to make her happy. So you sacrificed me to make her happy? I asked, my voice laced with bitterness. You sacrificed my future to appease her. My dad finally looked up, his face etched with shame. It wasn't like that, Alex, he said, his voice pleading. We promise we'll pay it back. We'll work extra hard, cut back on our expenses, do whatever it takes to replenish the fund. But I knew it was a lie. Their promises were empty, hollow, as worthless as the paper they were written on. They had already shown me where their priorities lay, and it wasn't with me. How am I supposed to go to college now? I asked, my voice cracking with despair. How am I supposed to pay for tuition, for rent, for books? Do you expect me to just drop out? To give up on my dreams? We don't expect you to give up on anything, Alex, my mom said, her voice rising. We'll figure something out. You can take out loans, get a job, apply for scholarships. There are options. Options they hadn't bothered to explore before raiding my college fund. Options they were now presenting as if they were some kind of generous solution. So I'm supposed to go into debt to pay for your mistakes? I asked, my anger finally surfacing. I'm supposed to sacrifice my future because you couldn't say no to Sarah's demands? The argument escalated quickly, fueled by years of unspoken resentments, simmering tensions, and the sudden, devastating loss of my financial security. I accused them of favoritism, of always putting Sarah's needs above my own, of valuing her happiness more than my future. They defended themselves, citing their sacrifices, their good intentions, and their unwavering love for both of their children. But the words felt hollow, meaningless, unable to bridge the chasm that had opened between us. The trust was broken, the bond severed, and I felt like I was standing on the edge of an abyss, staring into a future that was suddenly dark and uncertain. I stormed out of the house, slamming the door behind me, needing to escape the suffocating weight of their betrayal. I walked aimlessly through the streets, my mind racing, my heart pounding, trying to make sense of what had just happened. How could they do this to me? How could they prioritize a single day of celebration over years of hard work and sacrifice? How could they be so blind, so selfish, so utterly deaf to my dreams and aspirations? I ended up at Lucy's apartment, seeking solace and advice from the one person who always seemed to understand me. I poured out the whole story, the lost college fund, the lavish wedding, my parents' empty promises, and the gaping void that had opened in my carefully planned future. Lucy listened patiently, her brow furrowed with concern. When I was done, she wrapped me in a hug, holding me tight, offering a silent reassurance that I desperately needed. That's awful, Alex, she said softly. I'm so sorry. Your parents were totally out of line. But what am I going to do? I asked, and she responded, it's time for action. From then on, what I was about to hear was what was going to impact everything. The police would soon be involved. Update 1. After that blow-up with my parents, going back to their house was not an option. For the time being, I was going to be on Lucy's couch, to be able to collect my thoughts and figure out what to do. My life was in shambles, and I did not know where to go, but I knew that I could not give up. I laid on the couch, and that's when Lucy asked me if there was a bank I could get to that was open. With everything in the world on my head, it made it easy to see what options I would have. At this point, I was willing to put all of my trust with her. After all, it was my family that put me into this situation. Lucy was all that I could depend on and would take me where I needed to go. So I called the bank, and Lucy and I went to the bank. And that was where I would start to piece it all together and know what needed to be done. The banker that was helping mentioned that there had been a lot of red flags about what was going on with those accounts. There was a loan that my parents had taken out in my name that went to one of their accounts. Then there was a transfer from the accounts to a third party. Then finally, they then transfer it to my sister, Sarah, who mentioned all of it was to help pay for her wedding. This was another plan that she had. Did my parents know? Were they willingly participating? I did not know. All I knew was that it was time to reach out to another family member, Aunt Claire. Aunt Claire had always been the kind of person to tell things as they were. She was that member of the family that had no filter. So I told her everything that had gone on and all my concerns. And that was when she began to express how she felt to me, which was not good. I knew this was going to happen. What was she talking about? Did she know that I was going to be screwed over? Was this an expectation she had? What was going on? What are you talking about? I asked as calmly as possible. Your parents have always had a soft spot for Sarah, she responded. They always have been enablers. I was honestly surprised it did not happen sooner. What had she known? Why didn't she reach out? I was starting to get mad and wanted to figure out a plan to reach out. I then had to ask, so what was I going to do? This is insane. I can't tell you what to do. This is a problem that only you can take care of. But it is going to be long and tough. Be prepared and know that things are going to get rough. Are you ready to deal with it? I paused for a moment. There had to be something more. What did you want me to do? I asked, and she said, you had to learn it on your own. My hands have to be clean. I can't have anyone else know what's going on. It's how life is supposed to play out, and you have to deal with the cards that you were dealt with. That felt so weird. All of this. All of this to have an effect, I needed to solve it and to figure out what was going to be the play that would be best for me. This was getting crazy. Final update. After talking with my aunt, I realized that she was right. As much as it hurt, as much as I wanted to lash out, to demand answers, and to seek revenge, the only way to truly move forward was to focus on myself, to reclaim my future, and to build a life that was worthy of my own resilience. I had a choice to make. Succumb to the anger and bitterness, or I can create a new me. It wasn't something I could plan, but something I could see. And after thinking to myself for a while and being around Lucy, I knew it was right. I went to the police. I showed them all that I had in my hand and wanted to press all charges to the full extent of the law. The officer was quite happy and was ready to proceed forward to take down those people. It was time to get to work to figure things out. What happened next, you might ask? The police took my parents to jail as well as my sister. My life was so broken. As I thought, and all this happened, Lucy stopped by and reminded me I did the right thing. It was all that I needed to hear. Everything was worth it for me, and I would never regret the decision I had made and see all the support from everyone. The judge, after a lot of deliberation and processing, sentenced each party depending on the level of guilt. Some were a slap on the hand, while the others ended up with a very long time in prison, but it was not my problem. They are the ones who got themselves there and made the choices, after all. Now, as I pursue engineering and have a family who has been so amazing over the years, I remember how amazing it is to have good people in my life. While there will always be those people in life trying to get something from you, what matters most is what you decide to do, what you determine the outcome to be. For me, my choices have led to a life of peace, fun, and all sorts of opportunities that mean the world to me. I have never regretted a decision since then, and I hope you can look at my experience and learn as well. Thank you for listening. That has been my story.